back to the Athlete's Edge podcast. On today's episode, we're going to cover the interference effect and how that compromises training results. So, Tim, you were quite strong in a recent email to our current clients as we start to switch over some of the memberships and timetables in preparation for our new facility, hopefully in July. You mentioned in the email our one voice policy and how you're sick of having to fix all this quote unquote dumb training done outside of the program because it does compromise what we do and leads to what we call the interference effect. So why do you feel having one clear voice is so important for athlete development?
I think from a simple approach, I'm aware, I guess my own journey, of how hard it is for athletes and parents to navigate this. And then, so as a result, the more opinions they hear, the harder it is for them to decide what's right. And that's, I get, is always going to be there. The challenge with that is, I guess from our point of view, we deal with a lot of fairly high achieving kids, and it just gets too hard to manage and do well. So I guess we're at a point where we want to work with the athletes and the families where they want to turn to us for the right advice. If the people that we're working with want multiple opinions, they're the people that are always going to get pulled different ways, and therefore we're always going to be compromised with what we do. Therefore, I'd rather just not work with them. And I'd rather push them to someone else that will work with them, because they'll probably get better results, because then they'll actually, by removing our voice, they'll be forced to listen to someone else. Now they might pick that up and then still have three people because they'll substitute us with someone else, but yeah, that's their decision. In terms of the actual athletic development, so this is not only what I've seen through my career, but this comes off the back of like Exos and Altus Education, who are the best in athlete development in the world. So they would all agree. I think our mission is to make more skillful and more athletic kids that then can go on and play whatever sport it is. And now if that's footy now, but they end up being a basketball or a soccer player, that's not for me to decide. I'm here to give them the tools to be the best athlete possible. So if we said skill, now skill even for a marathon runner is skill around running. Like, what's your foot position? How do you contact the ground? So like skill is how you move, how you kick the footy, how you shoot the basketball, how you catch the netball. So think of skill as everything that goes into being an athlete. So I think clearly the number one attribute we want athletes to have. Then second to me, if we look at sort of like the qualities, is speed. Both of those two are the most influenced by the wrong sort of training. So this is the problem. So if they're the most important two, doing the wrong sort of strength work and absolutely endurance destroys skill and speed in athletes. Now, if we go back a step, when we look at who we work with, I'm talking from a development standpoint, from ages about 11, 12 through to about 18, 19 is their development window. And after that, their improvement is somewhat fixed. So if they compromise their skill and their speed now, they're not catching it up. So what I'm talking about is you will either not make the pros, or if you do, your career will be cut short, because even if you get drafted, they can't improve these qualities. They can only maximize what you've already got. So, if you prioritize too much endurance work, if you're in the gym doing gym wrong, you will make your skill and your speed worse, even though you will see your strength and your fitness improve. So they get caught up in the wrong thing, and therefore what we see, and what we'll talk about, is having to undo all this crap training. We're constantly battling to help kids coordinate better, help them improve their techniques, help them be more athletic, and move better under the right time constraints. Like, you've seen it. Kids can do some of the control stuff right. As soon as we get them to speed and get them to skip and march, they just fall apart. It's because they're not coordinated. So how are they going to, in a footy context, okay, there might be elements they can catch and kick a footy because they do that on repetition. But when they sprint, step off line one step and have to put it on their opposite foot, can they do that? Most kids can't, because they're not coordinated. Yeah, so I think there's so much of that being done, like to the point that up until you've hit puberty, you shouldn't do endurance work. Full stop. Shouldn't do any. So for girls, that's 12, 13. For boys, probably 14, 15. Then from the next probably 2 years, so for girls 12, 13 through to about 14, 15, from boys, probably 14 to 16, 15 to 17, general work, which I would say is in their sport training. So I've moved to the point that I wouldn't prescribe any conditioning until post that age group, because you'd have to be really skillful, really fast, have the right strength, so develop strength in the right way. Like we see kids that can squat and lift pretty heavy but can't generate the ankle stiffness to do a bound. So what's the point of having all this strength if you just leak it through the floor and can't be fast? And as a result, they actually make themselves more likely to get injured because they don't get in the right position, so that then when they overstride, now their hamstrings tear because they can produce so much force but they can't control it.
I always know you say you don't count sessions that you don't see, so why do you put such a big emphasis on coaching and execution, especially during these sort of teenage periods?
Yeah, well, I think it comes back to that first point around skill. I think if you don't do things the right way skillfully, you're just training the wrong qualities. And I was talking to Mitch, swim coach Mitch, about this recently. It's like, he agrees with his swimmers. Like, there's no point doing more of the wrong thing because you just get really good at the wrong technique. So he does a lot with swimming, and they can get more results by just training kids hard because they'll get fitter and they'll just sort of muscle their way and grind their way through. And it's a false sense of security because you'll get to a point where you might reach a pretty high level, but to get from this level to like Olympic level, you can't have gaps in your technique because it is so good that you need to be able to be really fast, really technically efficient, and be able to handle a lot of volume. Like I said, from our point of view, if they're really skillful, we can hand great athletes to AFL clubs, to college basketball programs, to VIS, NSWIS, AIS athletics programs, because they do everything really well. They're great trainers, they've got the right mindset, but they're skillful in terms of their movement, their gym movements, and so like squats and hinging, and they single leg stuff, their calf raises, like they do all that stuff well. So that then when they want to do more complex, Olympic lifts and that sort of stuff, they can choose the stimulus they want for a performance output because we've built all the kind of capacities that allow that to happen.
So why do you think athletes either don't know what to do in the gym, or why do they put such a heavy emphasis on all this quantity over quality?
I think because of the instant feedback you get. I think you get good at what you're training by doing volume and constantly progressing it, but that doesn't necessarily make it right. So for example, we did the push-up challenge one year, and it's like insane number of push-ups to the point like your shoulders are getting sore and stuff, like not something that I'd necessarily recommend, but for a good cause. Now by the end of it, I went from maybe doing about 20, 30 push-ups in one set to being able to do like 50, 60. I just got better because you're just doing the same thing over and over. So the issue there is in the pursuit of that one thing. So say your bench press or your squat numbers or whatever it is in the gym, what is that doing to your skill? How is that affecting all the other pieces? Anyone can make someone stronger or fitter. It's actually not that hard. What is really hard and what is unique to people that work in our space, so a lot of athlete development, and it's the same problem but with just slightly different focuses in like the elite space, where it's just a bit more individual and they're a bit more sort of realization around like actual qualities, where we're a bit more development, but it's the same thing. It's how do you balance a program to get everything right? Because if anyone can, like, you could do it all on your own and get stronger, but does it make you better at your running, better at your football, better at all that? It's how you bring it all together is the expertise.
And I think the point that you made earlier around jumping from sort of program to program, doing a bit with us, doing a bit with someone else, is you don't actually get that feedback on what's going wrong, what's going right, because you don't know which to actually attribute it to.
Absolutely.
It kind of goes with the same with rehab. When I was going through my back stuff, you sort of see all these specialists and you're sort of trying all these different things, but you don't know which is actually working.
Absolutely. Yeah, it just becomes a mixing pot without a kind of 1, 2, 3 input. This was the outcome. You don't know, how which input created that output. So if you've got 10 of those, you're guessing. And so if it doesn't work, what do you dial back? What do you increase? Which is why, we're going to, instead of having people do, 1 to 2 of our 3 gym sessions with a bit of speed, we're going to make it that, we want you to be as close to 100% completion of whatever program you're on, so that we know you're getting the right dose of speed, mobility, activation work, speed, lifting, all that stuff to get that balance right.
And it kind of goes back to our conversation we were just having off camera around, it's easier at the elite level where everything is kind of aligned, whereas at the sort of, obviously junior level, rep teams are competing with club and other sports where there's nothing really aligned between strength and conditioning versus their training versus game day and whatnot, so it makes it tougher.
Yeah, like for example, we had kids this morning that some young athletes coming in to do speed, but last night at footy was practice match. So we can't control that, whereas at an elite club, the standards and the pressure is way higher, and how you got to individualise everything is a lot tougher, and how you manage that. But you can manage it, I guess. You can have some more control over how much football they're doing, how much, whether they need to be doing Pilates versus extra recovery versus, how much, even what footy drills they're doing. You can sort of dictate a lot of that. So our challenge is we don't control much of their program, maybe 2-3 hours a week, and they might be training for 15.